Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. My name is Ellen Bartley, and I am happy to serve as Worship Associate this morning, along with our Director of Religious Education, Deb Little, and our guest, Jennifer E. Cuffey-Wilson. This morning, our musicians are Dan Weymouth, Linda Cortese, and Kai-Chin Chang. Our tech team, Linda Cortese, Rich Hall, and Rob Pond. I welcome you here this morning, wherever you may be, whether in our sanctuary or joining us virtually. We are one congregation worshiping together. Let's wave to the folks at home through the camera on your left. Please plan to join us after the service for coffee and conversation. For those online, if you sign off after the service, go back to the website and click on the link for small group chats. You'll find an opportunity for conversation. And either place, you'll find friendly folks who can help you find answers to any questions you might have. Please check now to make sure that your devices are silenced as we enter into the sacred space of worship with the sounding of the bell. Linda Cortese will light our chalice this morning as I share these words from Brian C. Lee. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love, and it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together. Please rise as you are willing and able to join us in the singing of We Belong to the Earth. The words are on the handout you were given with the order of service.
We're going to sing through the chorus twice at the beginning, and you'll be happy to know that the melody for the verse is the same as the melody for the chorus. You'll catch on.
This land acknowledgement statement was written by the Reverend Margie Allen. The Congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook honors the indigenous people whose traditional and ancestral land included the acres we claim as ours today. We recognize that the Settlecott people, from whom this territory was stolen incrementally and through grossly inequitable, opaque, and duplicitous exchanges between 1655 and 1662. Their descendants live on today as the Settlecott Nation. Among them are neighbors residing in Setaukett's Bethel Christian Avenue, Laurel Hill Historic District. We acknowledge the ancestors and survivors of this place, and we realize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. We honor their legacy, their lives, and their descendants who carry on tribal traditions for present and future generations.
So today's service is titled Repair, and that's actually the theme that the children are looking at all month. We're looking at the history of indigenous nations, particularly the Shinnecock, and our historical relationship with these indigenous people. Part of repair, a crucial part, is truth-telling. So today we're telling some of the truths about the relationships when European colonizers first came here. So the Time for All Ages asks whose land we live on, and you just heard in the land dedication that this fellowship is on Setauket land. Many of you probably have your homes on Setauket land. The story is called This Land, and it's written by Anishinaabe authors and illustrators Shelley Fairbanks and Bridget George. The story opens with a picture of a house and a family playing in the yard, and a young girl tells us, "This is my house. I live here with my family. Before us, another family lived here. Before that, another family lived here too. And another, and another. Before our house was here, there was another family with a different kind of house, a wigwam. In fact, the Settlecott built longhouses out of wood, which you know is plentiful in this area, rather than wigwams. Now here there was a whole village of families laughing, cooking, and playing. There were even annoying little brothers. But when people came here from Europe, they forced most of those families to leave their homes. All across the country, Native Americans had to leave everything they knew and move onto small pieces of land called reservations. Despite everything done to them, many Native American people still live in my community today, like my friend TJ. He's Anishinaabe, and he lives with his grandma. TJ's grandma Noko taught me that before my ancestors arrived, this land was filled with indigenous people from coast to coast. I wonder if all of them made food as good as she does. Noko taught us a song to remember that indigenous people have always been here, and they're still here wherever we go. These are the words we sing. This land is sacred, this land is living, from the Black Hills to Pueblo Canyon, from the swampy bayous to the salmon swimming. This land all has a history. Now, whenever my family goes somewhere, I ask, who lived here before the people who live here now? At the Grand Canyon, I learned that 8 tribes called it home. The Havasupahi, Yavapai, Hopi, Zuni, Hualapai, Apache, and Diné. Their relatives have lived here longer than anyone can remember, even the really old people. At the Golden Gate Bridge, I learned that the Ohlone have been fishing here for thousands of years. In New York City, I learned that the Lenape were here long before all these skyscrapers. At Disney World, I learned that the rides are on the land of the Seminole people. Everywhere we go, there are indigenous people to learn from. So I keep singing, this land is sacred, this land is living, this land all has a history, even my backyard. Amen. So now I'm going to invite the kindergarten through 4th graders to go back to their classroom with Michelle and Susan and Lee Morris. So you guys can all go to the door. And I invite you all to turn to the last page of your hymnal to sing the Reeb benediction. We have to have hugs all around before the kids leave. I love that. The middle school kids are going to stay here for the service. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure to introduce our guest service leader for today. Jennifer E. Cuffey Wilson is a blood member of the Shinnecock and Montauk. She works as a recovery coach with Blossom Sustainable Development on the Shinnecock Nation Territory on Long Island. A graduate of Southampton High School, class of '77, she attended Cobleskill Agricultural and Technical College in upstate New York and Suffolk Community College in Riverhead, studying data processing and accounting. After leaving college, she went on a journey that took her to California and back, working at different jobs. She was married to Charles E. Wilson III of Shinnecock in 1987 for 5 years until his death in December of 1992. After many years of dealing with alcohol and drugs, she found recovery in April 1994. Jennifer worked for the AICH HIV/AIDS project from 1996 to 2001, managing her own office as part of 5 satellite offices of the project. In January 2001, her life changed again after breaking her right kneecap. Not being able to work full-time, she found the opportunity to work at Blossom, doing something she is passionate about in recovery. After training with White Bison and becoming a recovery coach, Jennifer celebrated 30 years being clean and serene this past April. Working with members of the Shinnecock Nation and other indigenous people of Long Island, Graves Protection Warriors Society, and honor our indigenous ancestors for over 25 years. They have been able to get the town of Southampton to provide legislation that would protect their ancestors' final resting places. They also work with the Community Preservation Fund of Southampton to purchase, preserve, and protect open spaces. As a board member of the Nyamuck Land Trust and with the partnership of the Peconic Land Trust, the Shinnecock people were able to purchase, preserve, and protect their most sacred area, Sugarloaf, which is part of Shinnecock Hills. Jennifer is also a member of the Warriors of the Sunrise. Welcome, Jennifer.
Okay, which means hi in my language. I have a clock, a time clock, because I kind of like to talk a lot, so I kind of go over. So I'm going to try and stay in my time limit. My first reflection is on the healing of Mother Earth. Indigenous people have always been the stewards of this land from the beginning, and I'm talking thousands of years. At least now they say that Shinnecock has been here for over 20,000 years. We believe we've been here much, much longer, but that's another story. One of the things that happened when the colonizers came here was they came here first mainly because their land in Europe, they brought it to extinction. So they needed another place to come, so they came here. And one of the things that started, they came here, was because the land was so open and so there, and they needed it, they needed the land. But they came here with what is called the doctrine of discovery, which is basically a doctrine that states that people of brown and black skin are not capable, intelligent enough, civilized enough to own land. So we as Christians have the right, because God, the Pope, basically had said to them, God said that this is what you are to do. They love to talk about that the first sin of this country is slavery. And slavery is not the first sin of this country. They don't want to tell you what the first sin of this country really is, because if they did, so much would change. The history would change completely. The first sin of this country is genocide. And it's my people that have been suffering ever since. We're still suffering to this day with genocide. One of the ways that we are trying very hard to overcome this is to go back to our old ways of life, our old ways of living. So that's where our elders come in. And we talk to our elders. We learn from our elders. We learn our traditions. We learn our ceremonies. It's very hard now I'm going to say certain words that you may not like, but unfortunately I'm a very blunt person. White people love to change a lot of things. But one of the good things that white people love to do is write things down. And it's good for us, because it enables us to use their words against them, but in a way that hopefully will be an educational way. Not a hurtful way, but an educational way. We have to learn from our past of not doing the same thing. I learned this in recovery. Doing the same thing over and over again, making the same mistakes over and over again. There's only one thing that it is, and that's insanity. And that's what this country has been doing ever since 1492. They keep making the same mistakes over and over and over, and they don't learn from any of them. And we learned that big time on November 5th. So we have a lot of work to do. This isn't just an Indian thing. This isn't just a white thing. This isn't just a black thing. This isn't just a Hispanic thing. This isn't just an Asian thing. This is an everybody thing. We all have to come together because Mother Earth is crying out to us. We are killing Mother Earth. And Mother Earth has been saying for so long, please, please stop what you're doing. Stop the hurtful things that you're doing. Stop poisoning the water. Stop poisoning the ground. Stop killing our animals to extinction. I just read just the other day how the giraffe is going to be on the extinction list. The giraffe. That's crazy. But we are the only ones that can change it. We have to change it. And how do we do that? We educate. And we teach those little kids. We teach them. Now, I know one of the things that they hate to do is to talk about the history, because they say that if we talk about the history, we're hurting, especially white children. You know, we can't teach them this, because if we teach them this, we're teaching them to hate themselves. No, you're not. That's not what you're doing. You're teaching them so that they don't make the same mistakes. A child is not born racist. That is taught to them. There are so many videos on Instagram that shows little kids greeting each other. This is one video, it's absolutely beautiful, where it's this little black child and this little white child. They're like, they look at each other from a distance and they go running to each other. And they hug each other because they love each other. They don't look at the color of their skin. They don't look at that. So what does that say? They say that racism is taught. So we got to stop it. And we can do that. We can do that one way is by dismantling the doctrine of discovery. That has to be dismantled. The Pope has to say something about it. The Pope has to say, this doctrine is not right. That is a hard thing to do. Because if you do that, you change so much. You change so much. But you know what? Change is good. Especially when you change it for the good. When you change it out of the one answer to everything, besides coffee. And what was the question? Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. We have to do that because if we don't, we keep making the same mistakes. Insanity is just not good. It's just not good. And we can do that. We can do that if we're willing to step up. And I'm going to tell you, right now, the only ones that can make a change in this country today is not indigenous people, it's not black people, Hispanic, Asian. It's not any people of color. We can't do nothing because we've been trying to do it for so long and no one's listening to us. So guess who's the ones that need to step up? And you can do that. White people need to step up and say something. Need to step up and say, wait a minute. We need to stop this. We need to come together. Something was said in Congress this week that white men feel so oppressed. We have been oppressed. And Jasmine Crockett was like, what? Were you taken from your family? Were your people beaten? Jailed? No. You did that to us. And that's one thing that my sister always says, especially in the town of Southampton. I will reflect a little bit more on that in the next session, but the thing about the town of Southampton is they are so afraid that we, as the Shinnecock people, are going to turn around and do what they have done to us, that we're going to turn around and do it to them. And it's like, okay, don't you think if we really felt that way, that we would have did that 380 years ago? But we didn't. We tried to be good neighbors to you. And what did you do to us? Well, guess what? You're not doing it anymore. However, that does not mean that we want violence. That means the only answer, the only true answer to everything, like I said, besides coffee, is love.
Maybe we can just take a moment to let that soak in. That was a lot. So today, after the moment of silence, we will sing an Algonquin water song, more like a chant, from the Indigenous people of Canada. And the words mean, water is our life's blood. Dan will direct us, and Kai Cheng will play the flute to help us along, although it's very simple. We're going to sing it 4 times, and we're going to face one of the 4 directions. So for people who get in this building and lose all sense of the corners of the earth, let me show you. We're going to face east. East. Actually, north first. No. East. Sorry, I wrote the directions. It's east, south, west, and then north. So the words for this are in your order of service when you get there. This is what happens when you have 2 type A's in the same household. My spouse, the wonderful music director, Dan Weymouth. So our meditation words today are a poem. Jennifer says he's right. North, east, south, and west, which means the directions in the songbook were wrong. I am so sorry. North, east, south, and west. So we start here. Thank you. Our meditation words today are a poem by the Muskogee Cree poet Joy Harjo, who was named, some of you I think know her, right? She was named the first Native American poet laureate in the US in 2019. The poem is Once the World Was Perfect. Once the world was perfect, and we were happy in that world. Then we took it for granted. Discontent began a small rumble in the earthly mind. Then doubt pushed through with its spiked head. And once doubt ruptured the web, all manner of demon thoughts jumped through. We destroyed the world we had been given for inspiration, for life. Each stone of jealousy, each stone of fear, greed, envy, and hatred put out the light. No one was without a stone in his or her hand. There we were, right back where we had started. We were bumping into each other in the dark. And now we had no place to live since we didn't know how to live with each other. Then one of the stumbling ones took pity on another and shared a blanket. A spark of kindness made a light. The light made an opening in the darkness. Everyone worked together to make a ladder. A Wind Clan person climbed out first into the next world, and then the other clans, the children of those clans, their children, and their children, all the way through time, to now, into this morning light with you.
Kai-Chen will play it through once first. I invite you to stand and face the north. Now face me or the east. Now face the south.
At each service, it is our spiritual practice to take a collection which we share with a local organization working for social justice. Our Share Plate recipient for November is the Shinnecock Kelp Farmers. This 501c3 organization is the first Indigenous-owned and operated kelp farm on the East Coast. Colonial settlers in the 1600s made deals with the Shinnecock people that reserved for them the right to harvest seaweed. Now the Shinnecock Kelp Farmers are reviving this traditional practice. Raising and harvesting sugar kelp is a way to fight water pollution because the kelp absorbs the nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon dioxide that harms marine life and causes algae blooms. Once harvested, the kelp is used as organic fertilizer. Please give as generously as you are able to support both this organization and the work of our fellowship.
Sat beside a beaver dam and watched the winter grow. Ice was hard with little tracks appearing in the snow. Fog is in the valley now and all the geese have gone. Across the moon I saw them going, still this love goes on and on, still this love goes on. Once I saw the summer flowers turn the fields to sun. Up and down the mountainside I watched the summer run. Now the fields are muffled in white and snow is on the dawn. Morning comes on shivering wings and still this love goes on and on, still this love goes on. In every dream I can smell the sweet grass burning, and in my heart I can hear the drum and hear the singer soaring and see the jingle dancers, and still this love goes on and on, still this love goes on. Dream I can smell the sweet grass burning, and in my heart I can hear the drum and hear the singer soaring and see the jingle dancers, and still this love goes on and on, still this love goes on. Fancy dancers come up north to see some friends of his. Fell in love with a powwow town, and you know how that is. Beaded girls and painted ponies turn your life around, and now you're singing Keisaki ten, ha 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 ha, on and on, on and on and on and on. And in every dream I can smell the sweet grass burning, and in my heart I always hear the drum and hear the singer soaring and see the jingle dancers, and still this love goes on and on, still this love goes on, and still this love goes on and on, still this love goes on, and still this love goes on and on and on and on and on, and still this love goes on and on, still this love goes on.
I just want to, first, before I start, I want to let you guys know that there is a pamphlet out front about the kelp farmers. I was able to make only 10 copies, but if you want more, there's a website also about the kelp farmers. So please take one if you want and look at it. I'm so proud of these women. And of course, it's the women. And it's not to say that that's a bad thing. It's just that with our people, we were a matriarchal society. Okay? We became less than that when the colonizers came, because women were not supposed to be anything. Unfortunately, the women in Europe were only to bear children and take care of the men, and that was it. Take care of the kids. This time I'm going to talk about intergenerational trauma and the ongoing effects of colonialism. Of course, I spoke about genocide earlier. It started with genocide. They wanted to kill us off. In 1640, when the colonizers came, they definitely wanted us gone. They came in 1640, and before 1641, they had already stole half of our land from us. That's how quick they were. Because when they came here, they had, even though they looked really bad when they came off of the boat, okay, we were told that they looked really bad. Their clothes were terrible, they stunk, because they didn't, they were on a boat all that time, and they hadn't eaten, they were starving, and what did we do? We welcomed them, opened our arms, and said, come, let us feed you. Let us show you how to live in this land. And that's what we did. But unfortunately, the effect of that was they took it from us. And for us, in 1792 is when they changed our government from matriarchal to a 3-trustee system of 3 men. And they did that. My other sister always talks about how when they came here with a pen in one hand and a bottle of rum in the other. And they gave the pen to the men. First they gave the bottle of rum to the men and let them drink. And then once they got, drunk enough, then they gave them the pen. And the pen signed everything off, which was just next. So with that, in 1859, when the railroads came, they needed to have a railroad going all the way straight down to Montauk, and it had to go through our Shinnecock Hills. And they moved us from our land, part of our land in the Shinnecock Hills, and moved us to what is called the Neck. And the reason why it's a neck is because it was mainly a swamp area. So they figured they'd move us over to the swamp, and we would die of swamp fever. And then we got the land. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. We're still here. Matter of fact, we learned how to live in this area, and we learned how to farm in this area. At one time, you could see from one side of the territory all the way to the other side. And the reason why you could do that was because we used to do what we called burning off. We would burn the land. And not only did that keep the trees and the brushes down, but it also kept like some of the mosquitoes, and the ticks. They kept them down. We didn't kill them to extinction. We just let them, but we gave them, we thanked them for them and did ceremonies to them to thank them for, allowing us to do this. And but then we had to stop doing that. So when none of that happened, when the disease didn't happen, the measles and the chicken pox and all that didn't happen, when that didn't happen where it would kill us off, one of the things they said, okay, I know what, we will put them in boarding schools. So they put us in boarding schools, our kids in boarding schools. They stole our children. It's not like, we just went there. They actually went and stole our children. And most of the Shinnecox went to the Thomas Indian School up in Buffalo. Some went to Haskell, some went to Carlisle, some went to Hampton, but most of us went to the Thomas Indian School. And one of the bad things that happened when we went to the Thomas Indian School was because they felt that because our skin was so dark that we weren't full Indian, so we must have had Negro in us. So they sent them home, not realizing that, yeah, we get dark here because the weather, hello. So anyway, a lot of them were there for like a day and had to come straight home. Now, what does that do to a child's psyche? Especially when they come home and their families doesn't know what to say, doesn't know what to do. Part of intergenerational trauma. I had an uncle that from the day he went there when he was 4 or 5 years old, and he was there for like 6 years. And he said, from the day he got there until the day he left, the superintendent, Mr. Brenneman, beat him every single day. Now, he didn't say 5 or 6 times a day, but he didn't have to, because just one time a day was bad enough. But he was beaten every single day for 6 years. And here is this 60-year-old man, 65-year-old man is telling me the story. And the look on his face when he said, I wonder why he didn't like me. And I just started crying because I'm like, my uncle, And we both had, the one thing that we both had was we both stuttered. All right, he was really bad. I was bad, but as the years went off, and I have to admit, when I see these symbols here, they remind me of Narcotics Anonymous, because that's our symbol. And Narcotics Anonymous helped me to get over my stuttering. And as you can see, I don't really stutter. I still stutter, but not like I used to. Okay, that's the gift that I got from being in recovery. But my uncle didn't have that gift yet, because he still stuttered because of the trauma that he went through at Thomas Indian School. And a lot of our elders went through that. And White Bison had started a program where they went to different areas, different Native areas, so that the elders had an opportunity to share the experiences that they had at these boarding schools, because they never had a chance to share any of it. And having that chance to share gave them an opportunity to heal. And also gave the family an opportunity to understand why their mothers, fathers, grandparents, great-grandparents acted the way they did. I had another a minister, his name was Sidney Bird, he was a Presbyterian minister, and he said that when he went there when he was like 5, and when he came home, he was like 14, 15 years old. But he said when he got off the train to come home, that his mother, father, his grandparents met him, and he couldn't understand a word they were saying because they took his language away. I'm sorry, they took his language away. So he couldn't understand his family. And he vowed from that moment that he was going to relearn his language so he could at least talk to his family. This is what the boarding schools did. And now what we are dealing with on Shinnecock is dealing with graves protection, because the town of Southampton loves to be overdeveloped. They love to build their McMansions, okay? And when they build their McMansions, unfortunately, a lot of them have dug up our ancestors. That's why we had tried to do a legislation to get them to stop this. And we did it. The problem is the piece of paper that they wrote it on didn't mean diddly squat, because they don't do anything. They still do not let us know about this. They are still digging up our ancestors. They are still putting them, well, now they can't, now because of NACPA, they can't put them in museums, because now the museums are returning them back to the nations. So we have to learn a whole new thing called reparations, and it's hard, because we've never had to do this before. We've never had to rebury our ancestors, because we thought once we were buried, they're resting in peace with the Creator. But that's not what's happening. What's happening now is that they are being dug up still. Most of them are being either thrown away, or people are keeping them as treasures of their own. So that's another thing that we are dealing with. And it's very, very hard, because we have to learn new things now. We have to learn how to live in a way that we never thought we would have to live this way. But that's okay, because it's making us stronger. We are becoming stronger. But I'm still going to ask you guys to please help us, to please talk about us. Don't be afraid. Please don't be afraid to be an ally with us. Because no matter what, this is not just about me. This is not just about Shinnecock. This is not just about any of the left Native people that are here on this island. This is about all of us. Because if we don't do it before too long, there's going to be nothing here. I mean, they're already trying to find ways to move up to the moon, to Mars. I'm like, fine, please go. Leave us here, please go. Okay? I wear a hat. I didn't wear it today because I wanted to be respectful. But I have a hat because of Make America Great Again. Well, I have a hat that says Make America Native Again. And the funny thing about it was I have it in black, but I also got it in red. And the thing about it is, when I got it, I didn't tell the people that made it, I didn't tell them. I just said, I want a red hat that says this on it. He said, okay, come back in about a half an hour. I come back in a half an hour, and I look at this hat, and I started cracking up laughing. Because he did the exact same leathering that says, Make America Great Again, but he did it saying, Make America Native Again. So when people see that hat, the first thing they think that, hey, I'm one of the, and then they read it again and they go, oh, wait a minute. Now, when I say Make America Native Again, I'm not saying that I want you all to leave, which, okay, if you want to, okay. However, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, let's go back to where we all, when it was great. And that was before you all came here. Okay? But it's okay, because we can do it with you guys here. We can make this nation great. If we come together like the creed of, what is that? The creed that, yeah, thank you. We can do that. But we have to do it together. We have to do it together. So I'm going to leave you with this one thought, because I can stand up here and talk all day, but I'm not going to do that. If no one has told you that they love you, I love you. I really do love you. I may not like you, but I love you. And that's most important, is to be loved. Tabutne.
Thank you all. I think this was amazing. So during coffee hour, please go up and speak with Jennifer. She's amazing. I know this was heavy and not our usual let's all kiss and love each other Thanksgiving service. We're UUs, and part of our call in the world from our universalist past is to create heaven on earth. We are not a people, regardless of our individual creeds and theology, we're not a people who put things aside thinking, oh, it'll be fine when I get to heaven. We are called to create heaven on earth, whatever your version of heaven is. Beloved community, we say now. So I think, and UUs generally tend to think, that we have to start with the truth. But repair is holy, holy work. And it's happy work, it's joyous work. Once you've kind of processed the history, to work with other people to create beloved community here, to create healing, to repair the wrongs, and to create the kind of place that we would really like to live, that is joyous work. So as you enjoy your Thanksgiving dinners, whatever they may be, spend the time with your family and friends and feel joy. But before the weekend's over, think about what small step towards repair you might take. And we will be doing things here because November 5th. But, you know, I just tell you, it's joyous work. So that said, our closing words come from the Reverend John Borens and the Reverend Rebecca Parker, and it's called Hope Rises.
Hope rises.
It rises from the heart of life here and now, beating with joy and sorrow.
Hope longs.
It longs for good to be affirmed, for justice and love to prevail, for suffering to be alleviated, and for life to flourish in peace.
Hope remembers.
It remembers the dreams of those who have gone before and reaches for connection with them across the boundary of death.
Hope acts.
It acts to bless, to protest, and to repair.
Our words of benediction this morning are from Pat Uribalikti. Go out now with hearts and hands and minds renewed to the world that is waiting for you. Go out to that world to bring your gentle touch to those in pain. Go out to feed and house those in need. Go out to speak truth to those with power. Go out with courage to do the work which calls you. Go out now with your passion and your faith and change the world. Please stand as you are willing and able to join in our closing hymn, number 118, This Little Light of Mine, number 118.
Amen to you all. We meant to tell you that we had moved the song to after, so we're done. Thank you.